everybody. Welcome to Aviation for Girls Engage e-learning. Tonight we are focused on agricultural aviation. So to start us off, I have a poll for you. Have you grown something before? This could be in your garden, on a paper towel. Watch something grow outside and let's see your results. And in the meantime, we'll go over our customs. In engaging learning, we respect everyone. We are recording this session so we can post it and share all the great knowledge. Please use your Q&A. Be thoughtful about those questions. Raise your hand, and we love to see the reactions. Let's see some reactions. Awesome. Great job. And most important, we're here to have fun and learn about aviation. So today on our agenda, we have our introductions. What is agricultural aviation? I have an Aviation for Girls seed drop activity for you. We're going to discuss Girls in Aviation Day 2025, a couple announcements, and some closing. So today on the call, you have myself, Annie Stikeleather. I'm the Manager of Youth and Education Programs at Women in Aviation International. What is agricultural aviation? You might wonder. Have you thought of what agricultural aviation is, or where is it relevant? And basically, it's aviation all to do with agriculture, which is growing food, crops, or any types of things that you might sell that's grown from a plant. So there's so many different things. And you may not think of it, but aviation plays a large part in this, particularly in very, very large crops. It's much faster to use an airplane to survey the crops or a drone and to give the crops the things that they need. So here's an example of an airplane, and you can see it's dropping something on these rows of crops. And here's another example that we can see in this video of this cornfield. And you see that plane flew by very, very low and dropped something on those corn crops. Here's another example of a different type of aircraft and a different type of system. You can see really, really close that they have something in here to help with the area. And this is a little different area. It looks like a forest. So I have another poll for you. And first I'll share our other poll results. It seemed like 100% of you did watch something grow, which is amazing. What can be dropped from an aircraft to help with agriculture? Uh, so let's see what you think. Is it fertilizer? Is it water? Seeds, pesticides, which are basically what helps kill bugs so the bugs don't eat all of the plants, or all of the above? Awesome. Nice reactions, Aviation for Girls crew. Here's another really clear example. And you can see again, similar to that helicopter, where the drop items, whether it's pesticide, fertilizer, water, they come out of these little areas on those low wings. And you can see how much crops that covers at a given time. If farmers were using a different type of machine, they have to go each row, and it might take a lot longer than using the resources of an aircraft. So back to our poll, the answer is all of the above. An aircraft can drop all of the above. And sometimes agricultural aviation in this situation might be dropping fire retardant, which basically prevents a fire from affecting a forest area, or maybe dropping water. And that's all connected to agricultural aviation because the fire prevention is protecting the agriculture, which can even just be forests or forestry. So any questions that we have? Oh, I do see a question. Excellent. How do you get involved in agricultural aviation? So um, basically, a lot of it has to do with area. And if you are living in a city or if you're living in a rural area, if you're living in the city, go out to a rural area and look at some crops and maybe even see if there's some farms where you can ask people, do they use aviation in agriculture? But basically, you would need two things. You would need your pilot's license, and you may need a special rating, like a tailwheel rating for the particular type of aircraft that can fly low or land in fields. Um, and then in addition, you would still need a commercial pilot's license. So that allows you to be paid for that very special career of crop dusting or agricultural aviation. And then there's a number of other roles too, where you may be in the marketing of it or the management of it, or you may be engineering how best to deliver the fertilizer, the water, the seeds, the pesticides through the aircraft. So there's plenty of roles in agricultural aviation. All right, everybody. So without further ado, we're going to make our activity for our engaging learning, and we're going to make a seed drop with our Aviation for Girls paratrooper. So you need your paratrooper worksheet, which I have right here, coffee filters, and these can be like the white kind or the brown kind. That doesn't really matter as long as they're round. Colored pencils, a little bag of seeds. These are really easy to find at like a really any kind of department store or even a Dollar Tree if you have them. Dirt, you can literally go outside and dig up some dirt. You don't need a lot of dirt. Scissors, string, a paper clip, colored markers, and glue stick. But before we start, I wanted to talk about one of the four forces of flight because this activity is really going to be relying on two of them. So drag is the force that parachute is going to be utilizing because it's the air resistance that tends to slow the forward movement of an airplane. The second force is gravity, which is the force that pulls the objects towards the earth. So when an airplane is doing an agricultural drop, it's really important that the weight of the fertilizer is played into portion of how the gravity and the drag and the air is all going to do that. So, you know, you may want to think about that if you're thinking of dropping and is it windy? Is my weight heavy enough? Is it too heavy? And those are things that you can experiment with the second sheet of your paratroopers away activity. The other forces that work on an airplane or helicopter are lift and thrust. These don't necessarily work on paratroopers away unless there's some wind that creates some lift in that parachute. But thrust certainly is from, you know, the engine, that forward motion. And lift is when the airflow created by the spinning propeller here goes over those wings and it creates Bernoulli's principle and lift. All right, so there's what we're going to start with is our seed ball. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you a simple way. I'm going to show you the paper way, and I'm going to talk to you about the clay way. But basically, you need seeds. One caution on seeds is you want to make sure that your seeds are native to where you live. We don't want to accidentally add a plant that doesn't live where you live because it can really change the ecosystem. So make sure that your plant is safe for your area that you live. Second is some compost or potting soil. Like I said, you also can just dig up some dirt. And then there's two binding agents, or you can use the coffee filter, which I'll show you. These are really great little mini greenhouses. But the two binding agents you can use are clay and paper. And I'm going to show you the paper, and the clay I'll put on the ingredients list so that you can play with it. But basically, it's just like air dry clay or clay from the earth, and it's natural. It's really great for the dirt, and it goes back to it. So we're going to switch screens real quick. In the meantime, you can think of some questions. All right, everybody, here we go. We have my camera. So we'll have this ready, but first we're going to prep our seed ball. So I'm going to put this to the side, and I have already prepped, this is for the paper one, some paper. And I don't know if you know this, but paper is actually made out of plants, and it's called pulp. And it's purified or blended really fast so that it's teeny tiny and then it's pressed. And that's actually how you make paper. So paper can go back to the earth with no problem. So what I did here, and I'll go kind of close so you can see, I took a grocery store ad, which is totally free and recyclable. And then I ripped it into little pieces, which is also kind of fun to do. So I'll just show you. You can collect this in a bowl or something, and they don't have to be super little. You can even cut them with scissors if you'd like, but I basically just ripped them up. And then I use a blender. So here's my little mini blender. If you're using a blender and you're not used to using a blender on your own, just ask your family for help. So I took those and I added some water. So you can kind of see the water down there. And I just let it soak for a little while because that's going to loosen up those fibers. But that's basically all you do for that. If you want, you can also add food coloring or something like that. And now that they've soaked for a little while, I'm going to use my actual blender and lock it in. Wow! Maybe put the lid on. But basically, I'm going to mix all that up. Now you may need to use a spoon or something and get the rest of that paper down there. Do not use your hands, okay? Because that's very dangerous. I'm using a spoon and I'm kind of pushing the pulp back down there. Oh, giving that another go. Use a lid. You can see the paper colors are really lovely with the newspaper. And that's basically enough. So we're going to pull this to the side and I have a mold. You could even use and I'm going to use my coffee filter first. And my little bowl here. You can use a mold, you can use a cookie cutter. Like I said, you can add some color to this so that it's a little bit prettier because this has all those newspaper colors and they mix together. So get your coffee filter and then you want to squeeze out all the extra water. So go ahead and squeeze that out into a bowl and you can see it's making quite a lot of water's coming out. So it's really compressed. So this is the way if you don't have like a cookie cutter, you can just keep it in the coffee filter like this. If you do have a kind of cookie cutter, you can open the coffee filter and press it inside. And remember, this is just paper. It looks kind of weird because it's newspaper, but it is just paper. And you can press it into a mold or cookie cutter. So obviously I'm using an airplane mold. And press it in, but you want to add some seeds while it's wet too. So again, here's just a little seed packet. You can open that seed packet. And I'm just going to get out a couple seeds because I don't want to go crazy. Put them here so we can see. All right, there's 2 seeds. And we're going to press that inside. And then you're going to let this whole piece dry probably overnight before you do the second part. So press it really good. All right, and that's how you make a seed drop or seed ball or whatever you want to call it. That's the part that actually drops. Now we're going to make the parachute. So we'll put that aside and possibly clean up a little bit of our mess. All right, so to make the parachute, first step is another coffee filter. And you can color this if you want. I just want to point out that markers work really well on these coffee filters. If you really want to have fun, if you do get them wet, like right here, the washable markers will kind of run and make some fun colors. But basically you want 4 holes. So you're gonna do a bend here and cut. Just make one little cut, 4 holes. And if you want, you can even do this all at once by folding in half and folding in half again, and then making a little cut, and that'll do all the holes at once. But 4 holes, and you're gonna tie string to that. So here's my string. We want probably, about that long, your arms length, about to your elbow. So that's 3. I need 1 more. And if the string is cotton, it's also biodegradable, so it's perfect for your seed drop. And then you'll find your holes. You'll string that through and tie it. So to tie it, I usually make a little fish, and then I take the short tail inside the little fish body and tie it gently. You don't want to tie it so tight that it rips. And then I do that twice. So here's the little fishy. The short tail can go into the fish body and twice, and that's usually good enough. If you do find this is ripping, you can use a little bit of clear tape before you cut the holes, and it will make it a little bit sturdier. So you'll do that all the way around. Okay, so here's one where I have tied it to the corners and decorated it like a parachute, and it is ready to go. And what you want to do next is basically collect all the strings, make sure it's nice and flat so that they're evenly organized like this. And then we tie them all together. So to do that, you basically put them all in a fish, and you take all the short tails in the middle and pull that nice and tight so it's one knot centered. So that's our parachute portion. Now what we're going to make is the paratrooper. So you can take that paratroopers away, document, and go ahead and color it so that they have whatever you want. I left the helmet to color hot pink for Aviation for Girls crew. And you can just go ahead and cut this out. And you don't have to cut it perfectly. Just cut out the basic shape. Because once you cut out that basic shape, you're going to fold it in half right on that dashed line in between both of them. And this is where you could make more cuts and clean it up a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. The idea is it's a role model, a paratrooper like you one day. So I'm just going to cut around. Like that. All right, so then we're going to take this part and we're going to add our glue. Or you can even just tape it. I currently don't have glue right now. And we're going to tape that string right on, or you could use glue and glue both sides. And then you can use glue and close this like that. I'm right now going to use some double-sided tape. So then our last step, now you have the whole paratrooper, you can see, and the parachute. The last step is to attach the seed, and that's going to also act as the weight. If you aren't using a seed ball, you can use that paper clip and paper clip some weight onto the bottom so that it has some weight for gravity to pull this down when you drop it. But in this situation, we're going to use the seed ball. So this is one where it's made out of clay and the clay dries and it hardens. Here's the example where we use the paper. And then I'm going to show you just a little bit of a simpler example where you can just use a portion of the coffee filter. So you want to cut the coffee filter a little smaller because it doesn't need to be this quite big. And then you can add your seeds to the middle. And you can either add some of that paper pulp that we made, like this, just a little bit. And my dog thinks that I have a treat because I opened the seed package. Or you can use dirt and you'll just basically put that together. And then like we did just with the other seed, if it's dirt, you also want to use wet water. We want to make it really nice and tight. So if it's dirt or paper pulp, it's the same process, but want it nice and wet. You can kind of see the seeds there. And then we're going to tie a little string around that. So it's the same thing. You want to make a fish, tie it nice and tight. And then you can either glue or tie that to your parachute drop. So I'm just going to tie this here like that. It's not a treat, buddy. He thinks the seeds are a treat. And there you have it. You have your seed ready to be dropped with your paratrooper. And next we're going to take it outside and see what happens and watch our drag. So when we take it outside, we're going to do our document sheet and we can see how that works. Okay, so any questions about the seed drop? Awesome. We had a question come in from Sophia. Thank you so much, Sophia. She said, well, where do we drop this? Well, you can drop this off of a playground structure up at the top. You can drop it off of a deck, out of, maybe ask your family to help you open a window and drop it. And then really somewhere just high. It could even be at the top of a staircase. Like I said, at the top of a play structure. I'm going to go drop it off my deck and we'll see how it falls to the earth. But that's basically our seed drop. And here's the video of me dropping it. Here I am. I'm on my deck, ready to drop my paratrooper. And you can see the weight is the little seed ball we made. And we're going to go ahead in 3, 2, 1. Woo! And everything is biodegradable on this. It's the cotton, the paper, like we talked about, it's pulp. So, if I leave it, those seeds will turn into a really nice cornflower. Coming up in our programs, we have our August Aviation for Girls Connect news. And if you have any shout outs, please send them. We want to celebrate you and your accomplishments. And then next we have our September Engaging Learning with Girls in Aviation Day. So save the date for September 20th, 2025 for the 11th annual Girls in Aviation Day. You can find more details on the Aviation for Girls app or at wai.org. We also have our annual Girls in Aviation Day activity raffle. So these are due on Girls in Aviation Day. And you can color in one of our activity pages. You can even submit a paratrooper if you'd like to the contest. And all you have to do is do an activity from our Aviation for Girls app or Aviation for Girls magazine, just like this. Take a photo with yourself and send it to us to celebrate Girls in Aviation Day. One more thing coming up tomorrow are submissions for the Pioneer Hall of Fame. So if you've done your research and you know an amazing pioneer in our aviation industry and you'd like to nominate them for our Pioneer Hall of Fame, you can visit wai.org/pioneer-hall-of-fame-nomination-process. And those are due tomorrow. And we do that every year. So if you miss tomorrow, you can maybe think of someone over the year that you'd like to nominate or research them, study, interview them even, and you can send it next year. Last, I'd love to see your AFG seed drop. So send us an email, aviationforgirls@wai.org. And if you have those accomplishments for Aviation for Girls Connect News, send us your discovery flights, written tests, STEM awards, solo flights, certificates, anything related to science, technology, engineering, math, aviation, or aerospace. We love to see it. And don't forget to catch up on Engage eLearnings at this link. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in to Engage eLearning. Bye, Aviation for Girls crew.